I consider myself to be a Pokemon fan, but I'll be honest, the RPG games are not something I usually enjoy playing. I like Pokemon more as a franchise. I love Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium. I've even done a video for the TCG game on Game Boy Color. I also still play Pokemon Go from time to time, so I do like Pokemon a lot, but I'm just not all that into RPG games and turn-based combat. So the regular games just aren't something I usually choose to play. But my buddies Pajama John and Galaxis got together and decided it'd be fun if we all uploaded a Pokemon video on the same day and each of us covered a different game from the same generation. So Pajama John's making a video on Pokemon Red, Galaxis is covering Pokemon Blue, and I'll be doing Pokemon Yellow. This game is the more interesting one in my opinion because Red and Blue came out originally before the Pokemon anime, but Yellow was released after the English dub started, so they made this game to appeal to the anime fans. Which is why Pikachu is the star of the show, and there'll be a few exclusive encounters with Team Rocket that aren't in the original games. So I was pretty happy that this is the game that I'll be taking on. And of course, we're not simply going to be completing it, we'll be hunting down all the achievements in this game using Retro Achievements, a website that adds achievement support like you would find on modern games to all your favorite retro games. And Pokemon Yellow has 76 of these achievements, and to get them all, we'll have to beat the game, do some side challenges along the way to spice things up, and even see some unique interactions you might have otherwise missed on a normal playthrough. If you're new to the channel, my name's Nostalgic Juice. I'm on a quest to revisit all my nostalgic childhood games I grew up with and get their retro achievements. So if you enjoy achievement hunting, 100% completions, and challenge videos, then make sure you subscribe because I upload a video just like this every single week. With all that said, let's jump in and begin our journey through Pokemon Yellow. So we start our journey off in Pallet Town. We're the ripe age of 11 years old, and according to the TV, it's time for us to leave home and go on a Pokemon journey. So we head to Professor Oak's lab to get our very first Pokemon. We're supposed to get this Pokemon on the desk, but our rival, who I named Slop, couldn't wait his turn and stole it right from under us. And we got stuck with the Pikachu, who I named Rat. We could have had an Eevee, which would have been amazing since that's my favorite Pokemon, but we're now stuck with Rat, who only knows 2 moves, and only one of those is an attack. Slop's too stupid to realize that, and that's why he uses moves like Tail Whip, which only lowers my Pokemon's defense. But you know what else lowers defense? A Thunderbolt to the head. And just like that, we won our very first tutorial battle. It turns out our Pikachu is a bit of a princess who doesn't like being in a Pokeball, so he'll be following us around as we go on our journey. We can even talk to him, and doing so gets us our first achievement. Depending on his mood, Rat will give us different reactions when we talk to him, and each unique reaction is a separate achievement, so we'll be checking in on him often as we play the game. In fact, just talking to him outside gets us another reaction, and then if he gets separated by a ledge and stands still for a bit, he starts doing this cute little dance, and that's another reaction. So we're already off to a good start, and now it's time to officially begin our journey. Just like in any Pokemon game, you have 2 objectives. Prove you're the best by traveling across the region and beating all the best trainers in battle, and catching all the Pokemon to fill your Pokedex. Walking in certain areas like the tall grass lets you encounter wild Pokemon, who you can either battle and defeat to level up your Pokemon, or you can catch them in a Pokeball to add to the Pokedex, and start building up your team. But we don't have any Pokeballs right now, so we'll head to the shop in the next town over to pick some up. But when we get there, the shopkeeper asks us to deliver a package to Professor Oak, and until we do that, we can't buy anything. Which is an interesting business model, but we have no choice, so we head back to Pallet Town to deliver Oak's DoorDash order. And now that we're done with that, now we can officially start our journey. We picked up a few Pokeballs and caught ourselves a Rattata and a Pidgey to get our team started, but we're mostly going to be using Pikachu throughout this run as several of the achievements are tied to him, so I'm not really trying to build much of a team here. Speaking of Pikachu, I should explain a little bit more about how that whole mood thing works. Basically, Pikachu always has a mood value, and to get the different reactions, we need his mood to be within a specific range. And doing specific actions will either increase or decrease his mood. So if you just want to knock out these achievements quickly, you can manipulate Pikachu's mood pretty easily. Putting him in the storage box and then taking him back out will decrease his mood, which is what I did to get him in a bad mood for this reaction. And then I did it a few more times to get him angry enough that he blasts us with a Thunderbolt. Now, if you want to do the opposite and make him happy just to knock out some achievements, you can attempt to give him a potion from the shop when he's already at full health. The game won't let you do this since it won't have an effect, but just you attempting to do so is enough to make Pikachu happier. So you can just keep doing this again and again until you get the desired reaction. Personally, I think it's more fun to just do this organically and keep checking up with him throughout the game, but I did want to get his mood as low as it goes, because unless you're deliberately trying, you're not going to make him so upset that he does those bad reactions. Once we're done emotionally manipulating our Pikachu for a few more achievements, we have to do some training. So I ran around the tall grass taking out weak Pokemon for some experience points, and occasionally catching a few new Pokemon along the way. And then we bump into Silph again for a rematch, and now that we have some time to train, this is our first real battle that isn't just a tutorial. If you're not familiar with how Pokemon battling works, each trainer takes turns picking attacks, and the goal is to knock out all of your opponent's Pokemon. The Pokemon that goes first, as well as how much damage is taken or dealt, is influenced by a Pokemon's stats, which improve as you level them up. Generally speaking, the Pokemon that has a higher level has the advantage, but there's a lot of other factors that can influence that. Like how our Rat could take out his Spearow easily because flying Pokemon are weak to electric type attacks. Learning all these ins and outs is what makes Pokemon combat fun, though I'm definitely more of a just follow your heart type of Pokemon player. Unlike Silph here, who's still using moves like Tail Whip and Sand Attack, which are moves that instead of attacking, they manipulate the stats to try to gain an advantage. If you ask an experienced Pokemon player, they'll say moves like that are important, but I played this game the way I did when I was 5 years old, just spamming all the cool attack moves. And in this case, that works out just fine. Silph did take out our Rat, but we tag in Rat 2 to finish the job, and we defeated our rival for a second time. Our rival isn't the only opponent that we'll be facing though. To get to Pewter City, we'll have to go through the Viridian Forest, and while we're traveling between towns like this, we'll encounter several trainers who want to battle with us if we cross their path. These battles aren't difficult, and in fact, I usually try to avoid them by sneaking around them because that's more fun. And also, I kinda just hate the repetition of these types of easy battles. But we do need all the experience points we can get for Pikachu because we're gonna have several Pikachu-only challenges for achievements, so we have to fatten him up with all these experience points. We'll also be catching Pokemon as we explore along the way. One of our achievements is for catching all 129 Pokemon that are available in the game. So we have a long way to go before we get that, but we do get an achievement in the Viridian Forest for having a full squad of 6 Pokemon. And one of them was this really annoying Pidgeotto who ate like a dozen Pokeballs before finally getting caught, and he almost took out my entire squad in the process. But I liked his attitude, so I decided to add him to my party and I named him Kazooie. Once we make it through the forest and reach Pewter City, we stop at the Pokemon Center to heal up all of our Pokemon. And there's a Jigglypuff here who will put Pikachu to sleep, which gets us another reaction achievement. Then we can take on our first gym. There's 8 gyms that we have to visit in total, and each of them has a gym leader who is pretty much like our boss battle. And our first gym is actually a bit of a tough one because Brock uses rock-type Pokemon, which are immune to electric attacks. And we've pretty much exclusively been leveling up Pikachu here, so our other Pokemon aren't all that strong. We did learn Quick Attack, which is not an electric attack, so that gives us one option with Pikachu, but it's not really an effective attack, so it does very little damage. We do have a numbers advantage because we have 6 Pokemon to Brock's 2, and that was enough to take out his first Geodude. And I was able to use potions to heal my Pokemon, but that wasn't enough to defeat him using these weak attacks, and he took out our Rat. I tried to hang on with my other Pokemon, but they went down one by one until I had none left and we lost our first battle of the run. So I had to do a little more training, leveling up a Caterpie all the way up to Butterfree. When a Pokemon reaches a certain level, it can evolve into its next stage of evolution and become stronger. So after spending some time fighting more rats and birds in the tall grass, we got our Caterpie to evolve to a Metapod and then once again into a Butterfree. And with Butterfree, we can use the Confusion attack, which isn't anything too special on its own, but it's at least an attack that can do a normal amount of damage against Brock's Pokemon. And Butterfree was able to take out Geodude, and once he brought out Onix, I switched back to Rat, but instead of attacking, I just hit him with some Tail Whips to lower his defense to make it easier for Butterfree. I guess these moves are pretty useful after all. And once he was low enough, I switched back to Butterfree and was able to take out the Onix. And just like that, we defeated Brock and won our very first gym battle. After we win a gym battle, we get a badge to prove that we won, and we have to collect all 8 of these gym badges to take on the final challenge of the game. So we waste no time and head east to Cerulean City. Along the way, we stop at a Pokemon Center to rest our Pokemon, and this guy sells me a Magikarp per 500 Pokédollars. Which according to the achievement description, we got ripped off, but honestly, the economics of the Pokemon world make no sense. Like, the Pokemon Center just heals and restores your Pokemon for free, but a potion to heal 20 HP costs 300. And you could just buy a bottle of water for half that price and that heals 50 HP? Also, bikes cost 1,000,000 Pokédollars? So I don't really know what anything's worth in this game, to be honest. We have to go through Mount Moon to get to Cerulean City, which is just Zubat hell. Seriously, you take 2 steps in this cave and it's just oops, all Zubats. Between them and all the trainers hanging out in here wanting to battle us, it takes us a very long time to make it through here. But we're at least racking up tons of experience points for our little rat. Eventually, we come across this guy who found some fossils and wants to hoard them all to himself. Which, you know, I guess is fair, he did find them, but we beat him in a battle and he agrees to let us take one. Not that I plan to use either of these Pokemon, but we at least get an achievement for taking one. Speaking of achievements, we get our next one right after this because we're stopped by Jesse and James of Team Rocket. They want to steal the fossil we just took, and I would be fine with just handing it over to them, but we do have another achievement for defeating these two only using Pikachu. Which honestly isn't much of a challenge thanks to the fact that we've been going all in on Pikachu for this run. He's very over leveled for this fight and is able to take out their entire team without much issues. But I do like that we get to fight Jesse and James in this one. They weren't in Pokemon Blue and Red, but this game was released after the English dub of the anime, so they wanted to appeal to the anime fans. So it's nice to see Jesse and James included here. And we do have several more encounters with them coming up ahead, each with an achievement for soloing them with Pikachu, which is one of the reasons why we're buffing him up so much. And once we reach Cerulean City, our next gym leader is Misty, who uses water-type Pokemon. So we're gonna have the opposite experience here from our last gym because water is weak to electricity. So Pikachu has no issue just zapping both her Pokemon. So much for that all-out offensive with water Pokemon she was yapping about. And just like that, we have our second gym badge. That's 2 down, 6 more to go. And even Pikachu's happy about it. But I do need him just a little bit less happy for another reaction, so I threw him in the box real quick just one time to slightly annoy him for the angry ear twitch reaction. But getting locked in a box isn't more annoying than our rival Mr. Slop over here, who challenged us to yet another battle. And my rat was already weakened by the gym battle, so he caught me unprepared. I weakened his Sparrow with Butterfree, but he was able to take him out. So then I just switched to our rat because he's our best guy, and despite being weakened, I was able to take out the rest of his team. And look at that, he even added his own rat to his team. But it's nowhere near as good as our rat. We defeat Slop and get an achievement for doing so, and then we head to meet a Pokemon researcher named Bill. But not before taking out some more trainers along the way. The last one who's a Team Rocket army recruiter who does not want to take no for an answer as he tries to convince us to join Team Rocket. Yeah, no thank you man, I've seen the rats that you guys use, at least my rat's cute. We also met this trainer who thinks he's not good enough for his Charmander and offers to give him to us if we promise to take good care of him. So yeah man, I'll totally take good care of him and not put him in a storage box for the entire game. See, even Pikachu agrees, you can totally trust us. When we get to Bill's house, we find that he's been turned into a Pokemon thanks to an experiment that's gone wrong, so he asks us to hit the Control Z on his keyboard to undo it and turn it back into a human. And Pikachu is just losing his mind over it. As a thank you, he gives us a ticket to board the SS Anne, a luxury cruise ship full of wealthy Pokemon trainers. Which, I don't know man, I've seen the anime, I don't think I want to be on that ship. But if there are achievements to get, then I guess it's worth the risk. So we head to Vermilion City to check out the party. And the only way out of this town is through this guy's house who's been vandalized by Team Rocket. And hello? The guy who did it is still out here? What kind of cops are in charge of this investigation? We make our way to the city and check out the Pokemon fan club where Pikachu meets a Clefairy that he immediately falls in love with for another reaction achievement. Then we can listen to the club leader yap our ear off about his favorite Pokemon. And if we do that, he thanks us with a bike voucher which will get us a free bike. Literally a $1 million off coupon that he just handed to us. So maybe we do belong on the SSN with all these other rich people. I mean, we did just become a millionaire technically. Oh, and Slop is here too? Okay, well maybe this ship isn't as fancy as I was led to believe. They're just letting anybody on here apparently. We have another battle with him, and you know how this goes by now. We're so much stronger that we just one-shot all of his guys. The only Pokemon that he has that's maybe an issue is Sandshrew because it's immune to electric attacks, but we'll just switch to Butterfree to take care of him. And then it's back to Thunderbolting everything else. So that's just another easy win for us, and it's honestly embarrassing for Slop at this rate, but hey, as long as he's handing out achievements, I'm not complaining. We make our way to the captain's quarters, which for some reason is at the bottom of this ship, and the captain is bent over a bucket having some seasickness. We give him a back rub to help him feel better, and as a thank you, he gives us the Cut HM. HMs and TMs are these moves that you can teach your Pokemon, and HMs are a bit more special because they can be used multiple times, and the moves they teach have applications outside of Pokemon battles. And now that we have Cut, we can use it to cut down small bushes blocking our path. But we first need a Pokemon who can learn this move, so I guess we are going to use that Charmander that we got. We're also going to take a trip back to Cerulean City so we can trade in that bike voucher for a brand new bicycle. That lets us move around faster outside, though to be honest, on emulators you can just fast forward the gameplay, so it's a bit obsolete. But at least Pikachu's happy to go for a ride. And while I had him at this high friendship level, I decided to do the potion method I talked about earlier to make him just a little bit happier so he can get another reaction. Not that these reactions are like missable achievements or anything, but it would suck to miss one and then have to spend time lowering his level by shoving him in a box over and over again. While I was farming XP off some trainers, one of them poisoned my Pikachu, which I didn't even realize because I was doing the battles in fast forward, but while I was walking around, my screen started to flicker, which means a Pokemon's been poisoned. And talking to Pikachu while poisoned is another reaction achievement. But don't worry, I took him right to the Pokemon Center, and once he was all healed up, he was in a much better mood. Until I shoved him back in the box to get another reaction achievement, and then gave him some more potions to get him happy enough for another one. And we have just one more of these to do because there's this trainer who wants to give a Bulbasaur away, but only to a good trainer. So we have to prove that we're a good trainer by gaslighting Pikachu one more time by giving him more potions. Man, I'm starting to feel bad for our Pikachu. The poor thing's gonna have a hard time regulating his emotions when this is all over. But our manipulation convinces this lady that we're a good trainer, so she gives us the Bulbasaur. But I was just interested in the achievement, so it'll be going in a box never to be seen again. I was about to head out for our next city when I realized I've completely forgotten about the Vermilion City gym. Probably because it's tucked away behind this tree that you have to use cut to get past. It also has this really stupid puzzle that has you digging through trash bins trying to find 2 switches. And if you guess wrong, they reset and re-randomize. The second switch will always be adjacent to the first switch, but aside from that, it's just RNG. This has to be the worst puzzle in any game ever made, but at least Pikachu's having fun with it. And of course, the gym leader here is a super macho American army guy, because nothing says tough like hiding behind all this stuff to avoid battles. And he only has a single Pokemon, and it's a Raichu. This is just like the anime where Ash had to battle him and refused to evolve Pikachu. The only difference is I kicked his ass on my very first try. There wasn't even any strategy here, we both just took turns attacking each other, and my rat was just stronger than his rat. This was probably our most uneventful win yet to earn our 3rd gym badge. He was good for one thing though, because he gave us the TM for the Thunderbolt move. Pikachu already learned this move from leveling up, but I missed a reaction that could only be gotten right after learning it, so I was able to teach him a new move to make him forget Thunderbolt, and then reteach him Thunderbolt using this TM so I could talk to him after he learns it and get the reaction achievement. And then I reset the game just to get my TMs back, just in case I wanted to use them for other Pokemon. And while we're learning new moves, I decided to teach Rat the Seismic Toss move, because it's a good idea to have some variety in move types if we're going to be relying on a single Pokemon so much. Seismic Toss is a fighting type move, and it's actually a really good one for this run because it deals damage based on the level of the Pokemon using it. So since we're ideally going to get Pikachu all the way up to level 100, this attack will just get stronger each time the rat levels up. To get to Lavender Town, we'll have to go through the rock cave, and you might notice it's pitch black in here and we can't see where we're going. Normally you would use the move Flash, which can light up dark caves, but we have an achievement for making it through here without using that move. But even though it's pitch black, that doesn't stop Pokemon and random trainers from trying to stop us. The easiest way to do this is to follow a map from a guide and use the walls that you can see as a visual reference. So actually navigating isn't the worst part of this, the hardest part was just having enough resources to actually make it through. Because each attack has a limited number of uses before you run out of it, and that normally doesn't matter because you would just go to the Pokemon Center to refill it. And I guess I could have just done that, but I didn't want to navigate through the dark twice, so I just tried to push through it. I did do something incredibly funny though, because during a trainer battle, Rat was pretty close to getting knocked out, so I switched him out with a Diglett that I caught earlier. And then I used Dig, which lets him burrow underground and attack on the next turn, and this idiot goes and blows himself up with the self-destruction move. And since my Diglett is underground, he dodged the attack, and the Graveler gets knocked out for nothing. So that was pretty stupid of him, and shortly after that we managed to make it through the rock cave blind and got our achievement. And that puts us in Lavender Town, and this town is really different. It's not your charming little happy town like all the other places. This town's main theme is ghosts and death. Even if you haven't played this game before, you've probably at least heard the soundtrack. As we're exploring, we come across this girl who tells us that Team Rocket killed this Cubone's mother right in front of him, so yeah, that sets the tone of this place pretty accurately. In the center of town, there's this big tower which is a cemetery for all the Pokemon who've died. It's a very sacred place where people come to pay respects, and it is not the place for a Pokemon battle, slop. Well, here we go again, another epic battle against our rival who just gets soloed by our Pikachu. Though, hang on, something was different about that fight. Didn't he used to have a Rattata? I'm pretty sure I zapped the crap out of it back on the SSA. Oh, yeah, no, now I see why he's here. As we explore the tower, we encounter these ghosts, but we can't battle or catch them. They are Pokemon, but we'll have to come back with an item that lets us see their true form. Until then, they're too scary for Pikachu to fight them, so we'll come back later. But I did want to climb up the tower to the top because there's one ghost in particular blocking the staircase and we get an achievement for interacting with it. But since we can't get past that ghost, we'll go to the next town over, which is Celadon City. And we're gonna finally get our hands on an Eevee because if you go into the mansion through the back door and head upstairs, you'll find one just sitting on the table. It might be stealing, but if it gets me an Eevee, then I'm all for it. I named him Fun Fact because I plan to turn him into a Vaporeon, one because it's my favorite of the 3 original evolutions, but also it would be a good backup Pokemon for when Pikachu needs a break. So next we head to the department store, which is the biggest store in all of Kanto. So we pick up a Water Stone so we can evolve Fun Fact into a Vaporeon, and while I was here I also bought a Thunderstone to try to evolve Rat, but he doesn't want to lose his marketability and refuses to evolve. And there's a reaction that we get if we try to talk to him after doing this. The last thing we have to do here is head to the roof where we find a girl who's thirsty, and if we get her some water, she thanks us with a TM for Ice Beam, which we can teach that move to Fun Fact and it'll come in handy for the city's gym battle against Erica. She uses Grass-type Pokemon, which are resistant to Electric-type attacks, which granted isn't as bad as Brock because our attacks still do a good amount of damage thanks to how over-leveled we are. But Ice Beam is super effective against these guys, so for once in this playthrough we'll actually let another Pokemon have the spotlight. I was able to Ice Beam my way through her first 2 Pokemon, and then Fun Fact almost got her last Pokemon but was taken out by Gloom. But I was able to tag Rat back in to finish the job with Seismic Toss. So in the end, our big over-leveled Rat had to come in and save the day to get us our 4th gym badge, but at least Fun Fact got a little time to shine. But Celadon City has more to offer than just shopping and gym battles. There's also a casino. That's right, baby, this game has gambling. So we talked to this loser at the restaurant who gave up too soon before hitting the big jackpot, and he gives us his coin box so we can start playing the slots and win some big money. It's just your basic slot machines. You can bet up to 3 coins, which you buy from the front desk, and if you match the 3 symbols, you win some coins back. We ended up losing on our first session, but you have to remember that 99% of gamblers quit right before the big jackpot, so you should never give up. And besides, look at how much fun Pikachu's having gambling. How can we say no to him? We'll have to win 10,000 coins in order to win a Porygon. And I guess we could just buy those coins, but I was hanging out with Pajama John while he was doing a stream, and he taught me that the trick is to literally just keep gambling. Specifically on this bottom right machine, because apparently that machine is more lucky than the others. And I thought that had to be superstition, but I was watching his stream and he was winning, so I tried it for myself, and sure enough, I just kept gambling and the number of coins I had just keep going up and up. So I put the emulator on fast forward and just kept on gambling, and I was surprised it still took like 10 minutes even at this speed. So I'm not sure if this was ever intended to be done this way, but the casino is the only way to get a Porygon, and I guess like I said you could just buy the coins, but it costs 1,000 Pokédollars for 50 of them. So if you do the math, that would cost us 200,000 Pokédollars. And we'd be spending just as much time because we can only buy them in bundles of 50. So either way, this is going to be a big time sink, so given the 2 choices, you know I had to go with the gambling option. And besides, this casino is owned by Team Rocket, so we're really doing a good thing by stealing their money. But once we're done gambling, we talk to this Rocket Grunt who's guarding this poster, and after we defeat him, he takes off running and we find a switch hiding behind the poster, which opens the door to Team Rocket's hidden base. And for some reason, Team Rocket decided the best way to defend their secret base is all these spinning platforms that just launch you across the room, so we'll have to navigate these as we explore their base. And Pikachu is just having the time of his life over here. And right before we get to the end of the hideout, we have another battle against Team Rocket, so that means another solo Pikachu challenge. Though challenge probably isn't the right word here because once again, he just one-shots all their Pokemon. It's just like in the anime, they can't defeat a single Pikachu. So we beat them and get another easy achievement, and then we get to take on the big boss of Team Rocket, Giovanni, the leader of the biggest criminal organization in the game, and all of his Pokemon are under level 30. I'm pretty sure we've seen wild Pokemon stronger than these guys by now. You know, honestly, this run is less about the challenge and more about enjoying the story and getting all the Pikachu reactions. But we will have a few tricky achievements coming up. And now that we cleared out Team Rocket, we steal their Silph Scope, which allows us to see the true form of those ghosts back in Lavender Town, so we can catch some ghost Pokemon in the cemetery and we can finally face that ghost that was blocking the stairs to the top floor. And it turns out it was the ghost of Cubone's mother that we learned about earlier. And so we pay our respects by seismic tossing her into the next life, setting her soul free and opening up the path forward. And oh look, another Team Rocket encounter. In the like 5 minutes it's been since we last saw these two, they managed to evolve their Pokemon. Not that it really helps them though, they still go down in a single attack, but that just means another free achievement for us. We talked to Mr. Fuji, who was also here trying to calm down the spirit of Cubone's mother, and he takes us back to his house and gives us the Pokeflute, which we'll need to use on our way to the next town. But before we make that trip, we'll have to stock up on some items because we have a pretty difficult achievement that we'll be getting on the way there. To get this one, we'll have to defeat every trainer on routes 12 through 15 without leaving the area in a single session. The trainers themselves aren't anything special, they're the same weaklings that we've been farming for XP, but there's a grand total of 37 of them along these routes. So eventually, Pikachu is gonna run out of attacks, and we'll have to use other Pokemon to help out, and we haven't really been leveling up our other Pokemon, so that's gonna make things harder. We're also going to be going for another achievement for catching this sleeping Snorlax who we wake up with the Pokeflute. And he's kind of annoying to catch because it takes so many Pokeballs. But after we chucked enough Great Balls at him, eventually we got him caught, so we picked up an achievement and moved on with our Gauntlet. Things start off pretty good. All of the first trainers are using water types so we can one-shot them easily with Pikachu. Eventually we encounter some electric and ground type Pokemon who take 2 seismic tosses to take out, so that eats up our available attacks quicker. One of these trainers did use a Clefairy to put Pikachu to sleep, and that lets us get a sleepy reaction for another achievement. But by the time we got to our 21st trainer, Pikachu was all out of attacks. And when a Pokemon has no moves left, all they can do is struggle, which deals damage to both Pokemon. So we're able to squeeze by a few fights with that, but because it's damaging us as well, we're now burning through our potions a lot quicker. I was able to get a few wins with Fun Fact, and I even busted out Diglett again, who's able to take out a few Pokemon thanks to type advantage, but even that wasn't enough to get through all these trainers. I did stumble on a TM on this path that gave us some new hope because it was for the move Rage, which in this game is an attack that once you use it, your Pokemon keeps using it every turn until the battle is over or it gets knocked out. And each time your Pokemon takes damage while doing this, the attack gets stronger and stronger. So now we're getting multiple attacks off a single power point, and this seemed like just the thing we needed to get this achievement, but there was a problem. A lot of these trainers use bird Pokemon, which know the move Sand Attack, which lowers your Pokemon's accuracy. And I don't know if this is a bug or if it's intended mechanics, but whenever you use Rage against these Pokemon and they hit you with the Sand Attack, none of your attacks will connect. Meaning you're just stuck there using this attack, dealing 0 damage until your Pokemon is knocked out. I even tried this a second time just to make sure the first time wasn't just horrible luck, but once again, none of my attacks were connecting. If I had to guess, I think what's happening is even though you're attacking every turn, the game is treating it as if it's the same attack. So if one of them misses, they're all gonna miss. Maybe I'm wrong about that, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there's some Pokemon expert in the comments who will explain more thoroughly what's happening here. But in either case, Rage is not the move that's gonna carry us to victory here. I did my best to hang on because we were at 33 out of 37 trainers defeated, but unfortunately we just didn't have the resources and we lost our last Pokemon and failed the challenge. But we learned a lot from this first attempt, so I was able to reload the game to try again, and this time we'll be much better prepared. First, I went back to the shop and bought way more potions, antidotes, and revives. A lot of these Pokemon were poisoning us, and poison is a status that doesn't go away on its own, so the antidotes will help with that. Next, I looked in my storage box and found an elixir. These let you restore your power points so you can keep using your attacks when you're out of them, and I did not know this, but you cannot buy these. There is a finite amount of these found in the hub world, so it's a good idea to save them until now if you're doing a solo Pikachu run. And finally, I had one last trick up my sleeve, because I still have the TM that teaches Thunderbolt that we got from the Vermilion City gym. And just like earlier, my Pikachu already knows Thunderbolt, so I don't really need this one, but my plan was to use all my Thunderbolts, then teach Pikachu that Rage move that we'll be picking up again, and that'll replace the empty Thunderbolt attack. And then once we do that, we'll teach Pikachu Thunderbolt again, replacing the Rage move, and since now that's technically a new move, we should be getting those Thunderbolts back. And with all this preparation, we were able to tackle the challenge once again, and this time we had no issues. The plan worked, and we're able to use Pikachu all the way to the end. And once we defeated the final trainer, we finally got this achievement. This was definitely the hardest achievement in the entire run, but I think it was a really nice challenge. Normally you don't ever worry about these weak trainers, they're just XP farms pretty much, even in a normal playthrough where you don't have an over-leveled rat one-shotting everybody. But this achievement has you fighting a 1 versus 37, which actually makes them difficult to deal with. So I think this was a great achievement. But it took me like a whole hour because I had to basically fight them all twice and catch that Snorlax each time. So I am very glad it's all over and we can move on to Fuchsia City and give my Pokemon some much needed rest at the Pokemon Center. Thankfully, our next gym battle is an absolute breeze in comparison to that last challenge. Koga is the leader of the Fuchsia City gym, but really it should be called the Venonat gym because that's the only Pokemon he uses. Just 3 Venonats and then a Venomoth to mix things up at the end. Though to his credit, the Venomoth was able to take a few hits and even managed to knock out our Pikachu, so it was stronger than it looks. I tagged in Fun Fact to finish the job, and he almost got taken out in a single attack that dropped him all the way down to 25 health. And our attacks really weren't doing all that much since he's 20 levels higher than us. And if he actually attacked, he might have won that battle and we could have lost this gym battle, but he spent the next 3 turns doing status moves instead of attacks. So it was almost a close call, but we defeated Koga and got our 5th gym badge, so now we just have 3 more to go. Fuchsia City is also where we can find the Safari Zone. For 500 Poké we get 30 Safari Balls and can run around and try to catch some Pokemon, completely abandoning the traditional formula for catching Pokemon where you have to weaken the Pokemon first, and instead just turning it into an RNG nightmare. You have these bait and rocks that you can use, but I noticed no real difference. In fact, using bait against Chansey seems to just guarantee that you miss every single Pokeball. I did manage to catch a few Pokemon, and we'll have to come back here later to catch the rest of them for the Pokedex, but I just wasn't really enjoying this part, so I decided to move on. But before we do, we have to find this building hidden in the Safari Zone, and when we do, the guy in there teaches us the Surf move. So now we can ride our water Pokemon in the water to get to new areas. We also found this pair of gold teeth in the Safari Zone, and we can take them to this guy who teaches us another move called Strength, which is used to push heavy objects out of the way, which will come in handy in our next area that we're about to explore, but before that, we'll head next door to talk to this guy who gives us a fishing rod. So now we can go fishing for some more Pokemon. And I picked up 2 more reaction achievements because if you talk to Pikachu after catching a Pokemon, we get a cute little thumbs up from him. And if we talk to him after catching nothing, then we get this really cute reaction of him wearing a bucket on his head. And now that we've taken care of all that, we can head to the Seafoam Islands, where we find a cave with these big boulders we can move around using that strength move that we learned. We have to push the rocks into these holes because otherwise the water currents on the bottom floor are too strong to swim through. So once we get all the rocks down there and block off the water current, we can swim to this small isolated area where we find our first legendary Pokemon, Articuno. And unlike the other Pokemon so far, he won't be so easy to catch. You pretty much have to weaken him as much as possible, and have some kind of status effect on him like Paralyze, Poison, or Sleep. And my only Pokemon that can do these effects is Butterfree, who's not strong enough to survive for even a single turn so he can get an attack off. But that's when I realized Pikachu's Thunder move has a 30% chance of paralyzing its target, but the move itself only has a 70% chance of even working, and I don't know the odds of Pokeballs catching Articuno, but I know they gotta be very low. But if the stars align and we win all these dice rolls, this one attack can weaken Articuno without knocking it out and paralyze him in a single shot. And Pikachu is strong enough to survive multiple attacks if we miss Pokeballs, so it was obvious this is gonna be our best chance. I just had to keep resetting the game enough times until finally we got the luck that we needed. And that's how I was able to catch Articuno, one of the 3 legendary birds we need to catch not only for their own achievement, but they also count towards the Pokedex, so we need them for that as well. Next we head to Saffron City, where Team Rocket once again is up to no good. They've taken over the Silph Company headquarters, so we have to flush them out as we navigate through the building trying to figure out which teleportation paths lead to where. It took a while to figure it all out, but all these trainer battles gives us tons of XP. And we're also not the only ones here fighting against Team Rocket. We bump into Slop, who despite all that's going on, still insists on losing yet another Pokemon battle. His Pokemon are all evolved now, but there's still no match for our overpowered rat, so they all go down without a fight. Slop even evolved his Eevee into a Jolteon, probably because he's wishing he never stole our Eevee at the start of the game and got Pikachu instead. So we get another free achievement for defeating Slop, and he doesn't even stick around to finish the fight against Team Rocket. He really came all the way out here just to lose a Pokemon battle. But it's not like we need the help, so we just fight our way all the way to the top floor where we find Jesse and James waiting for us. And I mean, there's really not much to say at this point. We're still just one-shotting all their Pokemon, so this is basically another free achievement. After dealing with them, we head to the main office where we find Giovanni holding the president of the company hostage. So we have another battle where Pikachu is just gonna solo the entire team. Though he does have some ground-type Pokemon, so some of them will take 2 seismic tosses instead of a single Thunderbolt. But man, our Pikachu is just ridiculously strong by this point. I've never played a Pokemon game and had an over-leveled Pokemon like this. It really does make things a lot easier. And to thank us for saving the day, the president of Silph gives us a Master Ball, a Pokeball that can catch any Pokemon with a 100% success rate. And we only get one of these, so we'll be saving it for another legendary Pokemon that we'll be catching later. For now though, we're going to head to the Saffron City gym to take on Sabrina. She uses Psychic-type Pokemon, and they're strong enough that they can survive a Thunderbolt, so we'll have to use 2 attacks to take them out instead of 1. But of course, her Pokemon are still no match for us. Wait, what? Wow, I was not expecting our rat to almost get taken out there. It's kinda scary when it happens to you. Now I know how all these NPCs must feel like. But thankfully our rat held on, so we're able to take out Sabrina, and that's our 6th badge down. And we're actually not done yet because Saffron City actually has 2 gyms. This second gym doesn't give us a gym badge, but we still have to clear it for an achievement. And this one is way easier as Pikachu is able to just one-shot both of the Karate Master's Pokemon. And once we defeat him, instead of a gym badge, he lets us choose a Pokemon to take home. Our choices are either Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, and I don't really have a preference either way since they're both just going in a box, so I took Hitmonlee and we get an achievement for clearing the gym. Before moving on, just to make our lives easier, I headed back to Celadon City to talk to this girl who will give us the HM for Fly, which is a move that we can use outside of Pokemon battles to fast travel back to any area that we already visited. So I used that to go back to the Safari Zone because I realized we missed an achievement there. For this one, we just have to talk to the NPC that gave us a surf move, but we have to make it to his house with exactly 209 steps left. The Safari Zone keeps track of your steps because after 500, you get kicked out and have to pay to get back in. So in order to get to that NPC with exactly 209 steps left, we have to walk the minimum amount of steps to get there. It's not as difficult as it sounded at first, and I guess it does teach you how to navigate the Safari Zone, but this one definitely felt like the most random achievement. But just make sure you know the way there and don't take any unnecessary steps, and that's all it takes for the achievement. And now that we cleaned up that achievement, we head to Cinnabar Island to take on our next gym battle. But the door is locked, so we'll have to go find the key inside this abandoned building that looks like a Pizza Hut because of all the red and white tiles. But then I saw all the rats inside, and now it's looking more like a Domino's. But the reason why we're here is to find this secret key. And now with that, we can unlock the door to the gym to get our 7th gym badge. Oh, and look at that, Slop was here too. So nice of him to put the key back inside the abandoned mansion instead of just leaving the door unlocked for us. This gym is pretty fun because it's like a quiz show where you have to answer questions to test your Pokemon knowledge, and if you answer correctly, you can move on to the next one. But the thing is, answering incorrectly means you have to battle a trainer first before you can move on. So for the experience points, it actually makes more sense to purposely answer incorrectly, which is something I never really considered until this playthrough now that we're trying to maximize Pikachu's XP. The gym leader here is Blaine, who specializes in fire Pokemon. And once again, his Pokemon are also strong enough to withstand an attack from our Pikachu. So it looks like the NPCs are finally catching up to us. But we're still able to solo his entire team with Pikachu, and it wasn't nearly as close of a call as Sabrina. So once we take them all out, we got our 7th gym badge, and we have just one more to go before we can take on the final challenge. And our final gym is back in Vermilion City. I didn't even notice it the last time that we were here, but apparently the gym leader disappeared, so we couldn't have done it back then anyway. And that's because the gym leader here is Team Rocket's big boss, Giovanni. And this time things were a little bit more tricky. We took out his first 2 Pokemon easy enough, but his Nidoqueen knows Earthquake, which is a move that's very strong against our Pikachu. And since she's a ground type, she's immune to electric attacks. And I didn't realize that she was a ground type, so I wasted my first attack against her. And because of that, she managed to knock out our Pikachu before we could finish them off. I was able to finish the job with Fun Fact, but I knew he wouldn't be enough to win the battle on his own, so I spent the next few turns reviving and healing our Pikachu and just let Fun Fact take the hit for him. But what I didn't realize is all of Giovanni's Pokemon know Earthquake, so Pikachu just isn't able to survive against them. So as much as I hate to play like a little Timmy, I basically spent the rest of this gym battle sacrificing my entire team so I can keep using revives on Pikachu. I mean, I had plenty of revives left over from that difficult achievement we did earlier, and frankly, none of my other Pokemon stand a chance here. So I think this was the only way I was winning this fight. It wasn't our most honorable win, but with that, we defeated Giovanni and got our final gym badge. And our degenerate little Timmy strats were so bad that Giovanni decides to turn a new leaf and disband Team Rocket, and instead dedicate his life to researching Pokemon. So I guess we're just forgiving him for all the crimes he's done. And now with all 8 gym badges, we can head to the Pokemon League to take on our final challenge. But first, a quick battle against Slop, who still thinks he has a chance at beating us. You really gotta admire his confidence. For someone who's lost every single battle so far, he sure is confident. So we pick up another free achievement for defeating him, and then make our way through Champions Road. And here we find our second legendary bird, Moltres. I can't use the same method as last time where I used Thunder and hope for a paralysis, since now we're so strong we're able to knock it out in a single attack. So I just weakened him as much as I could with my other Pokemon and then sat there throwing Ultra Balls hoping that would be enough. And sure enough, after a dozen or so balls, we actually caught it without any kind of status effect. I was curious and looked up a catch rate calculator, and apparently that was a 1.58% chance of catching it. And that's why you never give up when gambling. After we make it through Champion Road, we reach the Indigo Plateau, and we have just one more challenge left to beat the game. We have to beat the Elite Four, which is basically a boss rush against 4 difficult trainers. And we have a pretty difficult achievement here too, because we have to do it only using Pikachu. This achievement is why we've been leveling up Pikachu as much as possible throughout this entire game. Our first battle is against Lorelei, and she uses Ice Pokemon. This one is our easiest battle. We're pretty much able to one-shot most of her Pokemon with Pikachu. Her Jinx is able to survive an attack and it put us to sleep, but I stocked up on items before attempting this, so we're able to use a full restore to wake him up and finish her off. And then our final Pokemon was Lapras, who survived a Thunderbolt, but we got lucky and paralyzed it, so it didn't attack us. And we finished it off on our next turn, so that's one battle down. Bruno's our next battle, and he uses Rock and Fighting type Pokemon. For his 2 Onyxes, we just have to use Seismic Toss since they're both immune to electric attacks. And then all of his other Pokemon we can just one-shot with a Thunderbolt. All of them except for Machamp, who takes 2 Thunderbolts. And he hit us pretty good and got us down to 42 health, so it's really important to stock up on healing items since we can't go back to the Pokemon Center between battles. But it just took a second Thunderbolt and we take out his Machamp, and that's our second battle done. Moving on to Agatha, she uses Ghost type Pokemon. And I'm an idiot and didn't realize that Ghost types are immune to normal type attacks, so I wasted my first few turns trying to conserve my Thunderbolts by using quick attacks. Once I took out her first Gengar, she tossed out Golbat, which is weak to electric attacks, so that went down in a single Thunderbolt. Then she tossed out a Haunter, who I weakened, and then she called it back and swapped in an Arbok, who I took out with a couple Thunderbolts. And then she threw back out the damaged Haunter, and I finished him off. And then finally she had one more Gengar, who I was also able to one-shot with a Thunder. I'm not sure why she called back that Haunter earlier, it was kind of a waste of a turn, but it helped us get the win, so I'm not complaining. And then our final battle is against Lance, and before going into it, I used another elixir that I found to refill my Thunderbolts. His first Pokemon is a Gyarados, who goes down to a single Thunderbolt, and then he has 2 Dragonairs. And they're strong enough that they take 3 attacks to go down, and the first one we took out pretty easily, but the second one hit us with an Ice Beam that ended up freezing us. And I only had 1 full restore left, and I wanted to save it because I know we have one more fight after this. And I thought the frozen status would just go away on its own, but apparently no. Once a Pokemon's frozen, it stays frozen the entire battle, unless it gets hit with a fire type move. So I did have to use the full restore and just hope he doesn't freeze me again. Thankfully, he didn't get the chance before I took out the second Dragonair, and then he uses Aerodactyl, who's weak to electric attacks, so it went down in a single shot. And then his final Pokemon is Dragonite, who we tried to save with a Hyper Potion, but I just kept blasting him with Thunderbolts, and eventually he went down. And with that, we've defeated the Elite Four, but we have just one more battle ahead of us because another trainer already came here and defeated these guys just before us. And that trainer is none other than our rival Slop. But this is not just going to be another easy win, and it's all because of his first Pokemon. It's strong enough that now it's capable of almost one-shotting our Pikachu, and even if we were to grind Pikachu up to level 100, that would still be the case. Earthquake is just a really strong move against us, and since we can't use electric attacks, we have to use 2 seismic tosses to defeat him. So because of that, we lost the battle and have to refight the Elite Four all over again. In order to defeat Slop with just Pikachu, I'm gonna have to do something that I never thought I would do in a Pokemon game. Use a move other than attacking. So I taught Pikachu Double Team, which increases his evasiveness. The idea is to use that move first, and hopefully that'll be enough to dodge the earthquakes. Which does leave it up to RNG, and we do have to fight the Elite Four every time that we fail, but honestly they're not that much of a challenge, so that's not really a big deal. And as long as we survive an attack, we can use a potion to heal our Pikachu and just keep doing that until eventually he misses. We just have to pray that he doesn't get a critical hit, which would knock us out. Thankfully that didn't happen, and we dodged enough earthquakes to get past the Sandshrew. And from there, we just take out all of his Pokemon like we usually do. Really, it was just the Sandshrew that made this challenge difficult. And I'm not even sure if relying on Double Team was the most optimal strategy there, but it worked for us and we managed to defeat Slop one final time, which makes us the new Pokemon League champion and gets us an achievement for doing it all with Pikachu. And with that, we've officially beaten the game. And this is normally where I would be done with a Pokemon run, but as you can see, we still have plenty of achievements left to collect. And we'll have to catch all the available Pokemon to get them. So we're going to start with the last legendary bird who we find in the power plant. This time we're able to weaken it with Pikachu, but without a status condition, we weren't able to catch it. I guess we used all of our luck on that Moltres earlier. But now that we know Ice Beam can freeze Pokemon and they're stuck there when frozen, the plan was to use Fun Fact and just keep resetting until Ice Beam manages to freeze it, which is a 10% chance. And then once we got it frozen, we're able to catch it in just a few Pokeballs. And since that was our last one, we got an achievement for catching all 3 legendary bird Pokemon. Our final legendary Pokemon we find at the bottom floor of the Cerulean Cave. And as anticlimactic as it is, we just use our Master Ball to catch him very easily. I've actually never used the Master Ball on Mewtwo before. I don't really like Mewtwo all that much, so I never really care to catch it in the first place. And I could just never bring myself to use it since I know it's the only Master Ball that we get. Then I headed back to Vermilion City to talk to this Officer Jenny, who gave us a Squirtle. I could have done this earlier, but I didn't know about it. But we get an achievement for taking him, and of course we need him to complete our Pokedex. Before starting the grind to catch everybody else, there's an achievement for leveling up everybody in your party to level 50. So my first thought was to get this XP share, which you can get from Professor Oak's assistant back in Fuchsia City. This makes it so everybody in your party gets a cut of the XP gained from winning battles. So we can just fight the Elite Four again and again and farm some XP for the whole party. But this looked like it would take a while, so instead what I did was head to the Cerulean Cave where you could find high level wild Pokemon. And then I just caught a few Pokemon who were already level 50. This achievement triggers when the last Pokemon levels up to 50, so we only have to level up 1 Pokemon. So I just had to make sure that 1 Pokemon in my party was under level 50. And then I switch trained him, which means that I start the battle with him, but then I switch to a different Pokemon to actually win the battle. But since the lower level Pokemon still participated, he gets some XP. And this is a faster way to level up than using the XP share, and it lets you level up a Pokemon that can't survive a battle. And so we just did that until our Graveler hit level 50, and once he did, we got the achievement. And now, all that's left to do is to catch them all. Like I said earlier, catching all the Pokemon is typically not something I like to do in Pokemon games. It's not that it's difficult, it's just looking up the Pokemon in your Pokedex and then look up where to find it. But some of the Pokemon are just really annoying because they have a small chance of appearing. So sometimes you're spending hours walking back and forth in the tall grass just waiting for the right Pokemon to appear. And this is something that the modern Pokemon games do a little bit better. The most recent Pokemon game that I played was Let's Go Eevee, and I really like how you can see the Pokemon in that game. It not only just looks way better, it makes the world feel much more alive, but also if you're looking for a specific Pokemon, you're not just running away from 100 Rattatas trying to find it. Where this really gets annoying is in the Safari Zone, because here you can't even weaken the Pokemon to improve your chance of catching them, so you have to spend a long time running back and forth in the grass, running away from every Pokemon that you don't want, only to have like a 5% chance of finding the one that you need. And then it's just up to RNG if you actually get it or not. And then of course every 500 steps you have to leave and pay to get back in. And yes, you can circumvent that by just save scumming, but in my opinion, if you have to resort to that, it's just bad game design. I will say though, emulation does make this grind so much more tolerable. Being able to fast forward through battles with XP share to evolve Pokemon was very convenient. Because without that, I have to fight the Elite Four for hours with XP share just to evolve everybody. And doing these same battles over and over again would just get really tedious. Especially since Pikachu eventually hits level 100 and is just one-shotting everybody now. The repetition is one of the biggest things that makes me not enjoy Pokemon games, but being able to make the game run faster really helps fix that issue for me. While we're hunting for all the Pokemon, there's several NPCs who want to do trades with us, and some Pokemon can only be obtained via these trades, like Mr. Mime. But even for the Pokemon that aren't trade exclusive, we'll still be doing those because there's achievements for all of them. So after trading Clefairy for a Mr. Mime, we trade a Lickitung for a Dugtrio with a guy in the guardhouse on Route 11. Then we head to Cinnabar Island to trade a Kangaskong for a Muck, which is just an awful trade with a very appropriate achievement name. And then at that same building, we trade a Growlithe for a Dugong, and then a Golduck for a Rhydon. And then we head to the underground passage entrance on Route 5 to trade a Cubone for a Machoke. And when you trade a Machoke, it actually evolves into a Machamp, which is the only way to get that Pokemon, so that's a nice 2-for-1 deal. And then for our final trade, we head to the guardhouse on Route 18 to trade a Tangela for a Parasect, which again is a terrible trade. It took me so long to get this stupid Tangela in the Safari Zone. If I plan on playing more after this, I'd probably just reset the game after getting the achievement just so I can keep it. And with that, we have just a few more Pokemon to go, and one of them's going to be from the fossil that we got way earlier, but there's a second fossil that we can get if we use Cut on this branch to get to the side building in the Pewter City Museum. A scientist in there gives us an old amber if we talk to him, so we take that and our dome fossil we got earlier back to the lab on Cinnabar Island. Then we just put the fossils in this machine and we have to go for a walk? God, this game just loves wasting your time. After we revive the fossils, we get a Kabuto and an Aerodactyl, and we only have one more obtainable Pokemon left to go, and it's the evolved form of Kabuto. So we just head back to the Elite Four to grind a few more battles. Switch training would be faster normally since we only have one Pokemon to evolve, but with the emulator on fast forward, I just use XP share and let Pikachu handle all the battling. And once Kabuto got enough experience, it evolves into a Kabutops, and that's our final obtainable Pokemon. So once it's registered in the Pokedex, we get our achievement. And now that everything has been done, our journey has come to an end, so it's time to set our little rat free and say goodbye. Oh, okay, I guess we're stuck with him. Well, with that final achievement unlocked, we have officially mastered Pokemon Yellow, making this my 22nd mastery on retro achievements. Normally, this is where I would wrap things up and share my thoughts about the game, but the thing is, we haven't truly 100% the game yet. There may be 129 attainable Pokemon in the game, but there's still more Pokemon to find in the other versions. The rest of them can only be obtained via trading with other players who have Pokemon Red and Blue. And if we're this close to 100%, we might as well go all the way. Which is why I'll be meeting up with my friends and fellow Retro Achievement hunters, Pajama John and Galaxius. They should be ready in just a minute, I'm just waiting for a portal to appear. Oh, there it is. Let's go do some trading.
Yellow Dimension Portal, open!
Oh, hey guys, what are you two doing here?
Nostalgic Juice, what perfect timing. I see you're working on the Pokemon Yellow Retro Achievement set. Whatever you do, please save your game before evolving your starter Pokemon gifts to complete your set. That way you can reset afterwards, and we can round robin trade to complete our Pokedexes. We'll give you the Pokemon you need to complete yours as well, and we can all get our diplomas. Sound good?
Alright, sounds good. I'll see you guys after I master my set.
So should I just chill here and wait until he comes back?
Sure, why not? You excited for the Wii Retro Achievements event?
Oh, for sure. The first game I'm going to master is...
Hey guys, I'm back.
Well, that was fast. Alright then, let's trade. Almost done, and I have one final surprise. I know we only need 150 Pokemon for the diploma, but I performed the Muglitch so we can do one final trade and have 151 Pokemon registered. After all these years, it's finally done. Thanks guys, I had a wonderful time. Maybe we can do this again for Generation 2 one day.
I don't know, man. I got the easiest game of the three of us, and I still thought it was a bit of a grind to get all these Pokemon. But the main game was pretty fun, so if you guys wanted to do this again sometime, I might be down. But please don't stick me with the yellow rat again.
I'm honestly down. I did hate doing this set, but it would be fun to do another one. I'll do it.
Alright, well, that's all I got for now, so I guess I'll see you two later. Wait, hold up, where's my Mew? Pajama John, I swear if you don't give me back my Mew,
And with that, we have not only mastered the game, but now we have officially 100% completed Pokemon Yellow. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I especially want to thank Pajama John and Galaxius for helping me get to 100%. They both uploaded videos on their Pokemon game today as well, and I'll have those linked in the description, so you guys should definitely check them out if you enjoy Retro Achievements content. You're not just getting one flavor of Nostalgic Juice today, we got the whole variety pack. And I had a lot of fun with this set. Despite not being the biggest Pokemon RPG fan, I think Pokemon Yellow is the most casual friendly of the three sets. There wasn't really any crazy challenges, just a few tricky ones, but nothing so difficult that the average player couldn't handle it with a little bit of planning. That's gonna do it for today's video, gamers. Once again, I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, likes and comments are always appreciated. Those engagements really do help the channel grow and reach new people. If you don't know what to comment, tell me what your favorite Pokemon is. I didn't do a live stream of this run, but I do stream plenty of other Retro Achievement runs, so if you want to catch me while I'm live, feel free to follow me over on Twitch. I try to stream once or twice a week over on there. And for my fellow Retro Achievement hunters, you can feel free to follow me on Retro Achievements if you want a sneak peek at what games I'm currently working on. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because I upload a video just like this every single week. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.